Anyone who has not pre-registered may call into the conference line during the live meeting by dialing 778-907-2071 and entering meeting ID 506-489-9374 and passcode 485186. There will be an opportunity for public comment according to the speakers list, followed by comment from those who have just joined the meeting. Speakers will be asked to state their name and civic address. Please note that all representations, whether written, in person, or electronic, are available to the public for viewing as part of the public record. Remarks will be limited to 5 minutes per speaker and should include all of the relevant information in their presentation. Further opportunity will be afforded all members of the public to speak a second or third time with new information only once all persons have had an opportunity to speak. Council may ask questions of staff in public, but once the public hearing is over, no new information can be received. Council debate on the bylaw will take place during the regular council meeting following the conclusion of the public hearing. At that time, any questions of staff will be for clarification purposes only. The corporate officer will now provide information on the notice of this public hearing.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The notice of the public hearing has been provided by posting the public hearing at Municipal Hall, advertising in the Summerland Review on December 31st and January 7th, and mailing 18 notices to owners and occupiers of surrounding properties on December 16th, 2020.
Thank you. So now we will get on to the public hearing. Z20-012, it's a site-specific text amendment for 19223 Lakeshore Drive North. Ariane, are you speaking to this? Thank you.
Okay. So the district received an application for a site-specific text amendment to the zoning bylaw for a property located at 19223 Lakeshore Drive North. The OCP future land use designation of the subject property is low density residential, and the property is zoned RSD1. And as you can see here, these land uses are consistent with adjacent properties within the Crescent Beach neighborhood. This property also falls within a watercourse development permit area, and any works that occur within the highlighted blue section along the lake require provincial approval and district approval of a development permit prior to the issuance of a building permit. So on the property, there are currently 3 dwellings: the principal residence, the cottage, and the garage with the suite above it. The development of this property has occurred over several decades, and with respect to the additional dwellings, construction started without the benefit of building permits, and with the garage, there were no final inspections given. So the additional dwellings do not conform to the district zoning bylaw, and given that the owners intend to renovate these structures and that they're non-conforming, they must be legitimized through a site-specific text amendment before any work can occur. The proposed site-specific text amendments include permitting 3 principal single detached houses, reducing the interior side yard setback from 1.5 meters to 1.15 meters, reducing lot coverage from 40 to 30%, and reducing the floor area ratio from 0.45 to 0.35, which limits the size and massing of development on the property. The proposed text amendment also includes provisions that would prohibit the future development of carriage houses or secondary suites on this property if there are already 3 single detached houses. So just to provide a little bit of context, this image here is purely conceptual, but it illustrates what approximately the proposed lot coverage could look like on this site. This is 27% coverage illustrated here. So given that these structures already exist and the intent of this application is to bring them into compliance, and that the size and coverage of potential future development will be reduced as a result of this proposed amendment, staff recommends that this application be supported. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ariane. We have a few people on the speakers list. Beginning with Robin and Janice Ager, and perhaps, oh, maybe Heather, are you speaking on their behalf? Okay,
Yes, please.
so
Yeah.
Heather Shedden, if you could introduce yourself and your civic address.
Certainly. It's Heather Shedden. I'm the owner of People Plus Space, and our address is 10124 Main Street, Summerland. So good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. As I said, my name is Heather Shedden, and I'm the owner of People Plus Space, and the property owners at 19223, Robin and Janice Ager, have retained our services for the application and presentation on their behalf this evening. The purpose of our application is to bring the existing structures on the property into conformance with the district of Summerland. We are currently 3 detached structures on the property, and our application is requesting a text amendment to the existing residential medium lot zone referred to as RSD1 zoning. As noted in the upcoming slides, the structures have been on the property since the 1950s, and the owners would like to retain the character of the property. In bringing this property into conformance with the zoning, we have requested a text amendment to accommodate 3 single detached dwellings on the property. The property owners have tried several approaches over the years and have worked with professionals and the district to determine the best approach to the property. We believe this application presents a solution to bringing the property into conformance. In our time working with the district prior to filing the application for text amendment, we proposed a decrease in the lot coverage from 40% to 30% and a reduction in the floor area ratio from 0.45 to 0.35. We understood from the beginning that the property owners had a unique property in the district and expected that there would be some compromise on their behalf. In recognizing this, our proposal was to reduce these numbers. In addition, the district has requested that there be no opportunity for future use of secondary suites or a carriage house on the property, which we have agreed would be appropriate. The district has also requested metering and garbage collection be updated should this application be approved to service each dwelling separately. The owners are also pleased to comply with these items as per the district request. We would like to note that while the buildings have not been individually metered, the owners have been paying the district for the services for all 3 structures for water and power consumption. In addition, the owners have been using a private garbage disposal collection service since the 80s, so as to not put a strain on district services. And in regards to property taxes, the owners have been paying it annually for the value of the property, which is a combination of the land and buildings. The subject property was originally purchased by the current owner's family in 1905. A log home was constructed on the property in the 1930s. Between 1945 and 50, the property was passed on to a family of the younger generation. These owners completed an addition for their family to the log home structure, which was constructed in the 30s. During the 1950s, the 2 other structures referred to as the guest house and garage were constructed. In 1975, the current owners purchased the property from their family. Between 1975 and 1983, several renovations were complete, including an addition. Between 1996 and 97, there was an addition complete on the garage in order to accommodate an ailing family member. In 2012, the owners also completed a renovation to the main house. As Ariane also had shown the same site plan, we just wanted to also touch on what's gone on or what we're proposing. So the site plan shows the footprint of the existing buildings, and the hatched area, which is attached to each separate structure, shows the possible expansion should the owners wish to make changes. However, the site plan is to provide a concept and recognize that even with lot coverage less than 30%, as Ariane had noted at 27%, there is still ample green space on the property. The owners want to make sure that the property stays in keeping with the existing neighborhood, and they do not wish to rezone for any other uses on the property. And they do not want to create a large dwelling, which would lend itself more to an urban waterfront. With any potential future development, the owners intend to continue to work with the adjacent neighbors. We believe it is worth noting that while the property is zoned RSD1, the parcel size could lend itself to an estate-sized property. In such a zone, the maximum lot coverage is allowable at 30% and an FAR at 0.35. This would be keeping in line with what we've requested as a text amendment to their property. We'd also like to demonstrate that should one single detached dwelling be constructed on the property as per the existing zoning, a structure with 40% lot coverage would extend well beyond the existing footprint of all three single structures, creating a very different aesthetic to the property. The owners would like to construct the owners could construct a grand home, but would rather forego this approach in order to keep with the values of the neighborhood aesthetic. As you can see in the images, the owners have maintained the property over the generations. In bringing the property into conformance with the district, this would provide the owners the opportunity to continue to maintain the structures going forward and legitimize what is now on the property. We realize it may come into question why the owners are pursuing this text amendment now. It is in order to maintain the character of the property and neighborhood, while also being cognizant of the District of Summerland's bylaws, and they are also aware of the necessity for multi-generational living in their family going forward. We also find it is worth noting the approach to the property from the street. As you see the structures are well set back from the front property line and roadway. They do not overbear from the street, and they are keeping in tone with the neighboring properties. These images just depict a view from the east and west side of the property. Mayor, we thank you and council and staff for your time.
You're muted, Madam Mayor.
Oh, pardon me. Thank you, Councillor Patton. Correct me if I'm wrong, Karen Needham. Is the next person that wishes to speak on the list Ellen Walker-Matthews?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Please go ahead, Ellen.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm Ellen Walker-Matthews, and I'm actually here with my husband, Tom, who you cannot see in this blue background, but he's here with me as well. We are residents of Crescent Beach and live in the neighborhood at 19218 North Lakeshore Drive, across the street from the site-specific text amendment for 19223 Lakeshore Drive. And we would like to support the project. We've also been asked to just indicate the supporters of the application. There is a copy of the letters of the owners that have supported it on the district's file, but I would just like to briefly mention who those individuals are, including Tom and I, Susie Gay and Brian Gay, Daryl Foster and Colleen Foster, Glenn Hebert and Karen Hebert, John Ingledew and Ross Ingledew, Jerry Lou Barrett, Alice Steinberger, Terry Enns, Bronwyn Enns, Darcy Crow, Ann Crow, the Gow family, Alan Murray, Carleen Murray, Paul Rogers, Cynthia Karalik Rogers, Vaughn Myers, and Leslie Ann Myers Martin Myers. We've lived across the street from this residence for 28 years and certainly would like to see it continue in the character that it has been presented and is continuing to be presented, and would really like to not see a large 14,000 square foot home constructed on that lot. So thank you very much for letting us speak.
Thank you, Ellen. And then council is aware that there is some correspondence that's part of this. Any questions of the agent for Robin and Janice Ager? Council? No questions? All right. So if there are no questions and no questions about the correspondence, then I will adjourn the meeting and ask if a council member could bring forward the adjournment and Karen.
Mayor, would you just ask if there's anyone else that would like to speak to?
Oh, yes, pardon me. Is there anybody else on the line or attending in Zoom, so on the line, on the telephone line, that wishes to speak to this public hearing? Okay, Vicky, thank you. Thank you, Karen. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Boot. My name is Vicky Campy. My brother Todd Campy is also online, but only by audio. We're residents at 19221 Lakeshore Drive North in Crescent Beach. And we're the property that is right next door to Mr. and Mrs. Ager. We initially supported the application to have these structures legalized, and we still do. But what our concerns that we would like to bring forward are regards to future development. The plans that Mr. and Mrs. Agar have on their property could create some congestion. And one of the applications that they've made is to lessen the setback. And we are, so our support is kind of conditional of this application, as long as the setback is, I think it remains as it is, and no future development comes closer. I think there's already a structure that's close to the property line. And yeah, just that in their future development, that a second story is not added to the cottage, and that it does not extend beyond 15 feet of the current structure towards the east shore. So those are the conditions that we're asking are met before this is approved.
Thank you, Vicky. And Todd, do you have anything to add? Okay. Is there anybody else that would like to speak to this? I'll get back to you, Heather. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to the public hearing tonight? I'll ask for a third and final time. Is there anyone else that would like to speak about the 19223 Lakeshore Drive North public hearing tonight? All right, so back to you, Heather.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to read a letter that the Agers had submitted regarding the Campy's property and the proximity, if that were all right.
Okay, is this, is it different from the letter that we received from the Agers?
No, it's the letter that had been submitted just regarding the property, and that we have already had some verbal communication with the Campys and respecting the setback, and we had verbally agreed to the 15 feet. So it's really just referencing that letter, and that we do and continue to plan to engage with them if the Agers would like to do any work on the property.
Okay, please go ahead.
Dear Summerland Mayor and Council, in recognition of Vicky and Todd Campy's letter of support to the District of Summerland with specific conditions, we support their desire to be consulted and request permits and plans be presented to us before construction begins. We've also mutually agreed we will not maximize the allowable lot coverage to east shore of the cottage more than 15 feet as to not impede their view to the north. We currently do not have plans for a second story, but cannot reasonably commit to this request until we reach a planning stage, and will honor our commitment to work with them, keeping their concerns in mind. Our long-standing relationship with the Campys is a cherished one. Their uncle Dave Campy, who was born at the Summerland Hospital, was delivered by my mother, Frida Ager. Dave and I first met, when I was 12 years old, and cultivated a lifelong friendship together. The history of our relationship is important because we've mutually benefited from a lack of division on our adjoining properties, and hence why they are able to enjoy the open landscape that our property view provides them today. To the best of our ability, we desire to do this to continue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Council, any questions of the applicant? Okay, so could I have someone bring forward adjournment of the public hearing, please? Councillor Traynor. Seconded by Councillor Holmes. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. And now I will call to order the regular meeting. This meeting is being recorded live and is streaming. All representations to council, written or verbal, will form part of the public record and be available to the public for viewing electronically or as part of a written record. Members of the public may access the meeting or participate in the following ways. 1. Watch the meeting live or recorded. Individuals who wish to watch the meeting may view it on the District of Summerland YouTube channel, youtube.com, District of Summerland live or recorded. 2. Register in advance to speak during the meeting. Members of the public who wish to provide comment during the public comment opportunities found under items 8 and 15 are asked to register in advance by contacting the corporate officer at corporateofficer@summerland.ca with the following information: your name, civic address, method of participation, so whether by telephone or Zoom. Further details will be given to you at registration. The third way to participate is to request to speak during the meeting. Those who have not registered in advance but wish to speak during the public comment opportunities may connect to the meeting by calling the meeting conference line at 778-907-2071 and entering meeting ID 506-489-9374 and passcode 485186. After I have provided everybody with who has pre-registered with an opportunity to comment, the floor will be open to those on the conference line. Corporate Officer, is there any new items to, or are there any new items to introduce?
There are none, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So then we can move right on to approval of the agenda. Is there someone that would bring that forward for adoption, please? Councillor Holmes, seconded by Councillor Traynor. All in favor? Thank you. And adoption of the minutes from our regular council meeting of the evening of December the 14th, 2020, and the public hearing of that same date. Anything that needs to be changed? All right, if I could ask someone to bring forward adoption of those minutes. Councillor Van Elfen, seconder. Councillor Holmes, thank you. All in favor? And none opposed. Thank you. So now on to bylaws 5.1, the subject of our public hearing. Z20-012, a site-specific text amendment for 19223 Lakeshore Drive North. Okay, so we've had very recently, Ariane has brought us, reminded us of the request that is being made as we consider this. Are there any questions of staff? So items for clarification. Councillor Barkwell.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. In regards to the setback question that the Campy family brought up, I had assumed that it was requested to go from 1.5 meters down to 1.15 meters, as that was necessary to bring the building into conformity. But maybe that's not the case. Can the staff advise on that? And if so, what is the reason to reduce the setback even further than in the existing building?
Thank you. So as it is right now, the building does encroach into the setback. So part of the site-specific amendment is to bring that into conformance. So that is why the applicant has requested to reduce the setback from 1.5 meters to 1.15 meters.
All right, thank you. So that is, so it sounded like the Campies had a little bit of trouble with that, but that's required to bring that building into conformity and isn't changing anything, right? Just to be clear.
So you've given a positive answer to that then, Ariane?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, good. Thank you. Councillor Barkwell, did you have another question? No. Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If I may, to our Director of Development Services, I noticed that from Ms. Shedden, she talked about that the Eggers have agreed that there would be no carriage houses or secondary suites added to any of these structures. My question to you is, as we're going through this process, would that, and they would then become 3 legal dwelling units on that property, would they be able to do a carriage house or, like, let's say, secondary suite within the single family dwellings? Would that be allowed under the zoning that is being sought?
No, yeah. The way we've written the site-specific text amendment is that there would be no provision for a carriage house or secondary suites within the existing dwellings. For the site-specific amendment that's proposed for the property.
Excellent, thank you. If I may, Madam Mayor. So the property has a history of non-conformance, no permits. It's been outlined already. Ms. Campy has some issues in regards to the setback, which our staff has relayed why going to the variance for setback, because it doesn't meet the current zoning bylaw, which is, then she also talked about no second story on the cottage. She also talked about the 15 meters from the east shoreline. My question being is once the applications comes through, and I'm sure that the Campies will want to see what the design is since they are right next door to it. Once we have gone through this process, can we put a no-build covenant on that property so that we are ensured that no further construction will happen? Then it becomes in violation of a registered covenant on the property. It's not that I want to see covenants on property, but this we've seen on this property where we have not seen permits and we've seen construction happen without, it's a case of, don't ask for forgiveness or beg for forgiveness and just go ahead and do it. And so I'm just wondering, is that an option that can be looked at as a no-build covenant once the design has been approved, in which they want to move forward with if this was to go through for their property?
I'll take a crack at answering that to start from the district's perspective. Heather may want to weigh in from the owner's perspective following my comment, but that is something that council does have within their purview as a condition of the rezoning, is to consider a covenant to be placed on the title before adoption. Generally, that would occur following third reading and prior to adoption. So but given that there is planned building permits, perhaps expansions proposed, my recommendation to council would be we would wait to place that no build covenant until those renovations are completed and given final occupancy. But if that is written as a condition of the rezoning by council, then we would see to it that it would be placed at that time.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Just one moment, Heather. Is it the wish of council, and we need a unanimous vote, that we hear further from the applicant? Please raise your hands if it's okay.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I would like clarification from our corporate officer if we're allowed to. The public hearing has closed. So I would like to get clarification from our corporate officer if we can hear from somebody who's not staff.
No.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through Madam Mayor. So usually when the public hearing is closed, that does end the conversation. So the time for clarifying things is during the public hearing. This is the moment for council to debate and to make a decision.
Okay, so My apologies there. There were no questions during the public hearing, although I asked twice. So that opportunity is not available. I'm sorry, Heather. Okay. Actually, I have another question for you, Karen, along those lines. So my question to council was, would we like to hear again from Heather? Not necessarily would we like to ask questions of Heather. Same thing applies? Should have been done during the public hearing?
The procedure would be through the public hearing, but your
Okay.
worship, council may choose to vote and hear again
Good,
the will of
thank you.
council.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that. So I'll ask the question again. Council, would you like to hear again from Ms. Shedden? Please raise your hands if you're okay hearing again from her. Okay, that is not a unanimous vote, so I'm sorry, but it's good to have you here anyways, listening in on the conversation. Okay, so any other questions for clarification of staff? Councillor Holmes.
Thank you. Yeah, it's not that I didn't want to hear from her. I just didn't think it'd be fair to anybody else. I just for discussion, I just do not. I don't think we can hold. We can say to somebody, you can't ever rebuild on your property. I just don't see how we can make that a condition. Nothing lasts forever, and certainly buildings in the Okanagan don't last forever. So I don't think we can make that condition on. So I wouldn't support a covenant.
Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In response to Councillor Holmes, this wouldn't be a forever thing. This is to stop construction during the time period now until, it's not in perpetuity, it's until such time as they would come forward if they ever want to do a demolition or they want to do something to rebuild. All we're doing is stopping illegal construction that's going to happen by placing a no build covenant on the property. So it's not that the covenant can't be removed, because it can always be removed, but it's the district that removes that covenant, not the landowners. So in that respect, what it's doing is it's protecting the neighbors of Crescent Beach from somebody that could go ahead and construct a week after they get their building permit, or once they get their occupancy, if everything goes through, and they could do something, and we'd be right back into the same boat as we are now. Somebody asking for forgiveness. It's all it does is it just puts a stop to construction that may happen without permit or without approvals. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Patton. Any other questions? Councillor Traynor.
This question is for Brad. Brad, could you just repeat what you had said before about the timing of the covenant and what our options are around that if we were to do that?
Yeah, I think you could just put it as a condition of the approval, as something that for us to consider at the time of building permit final occupancy for placement. So you can go forward with the rezoning and then put it in your motion as in addition to providing third reading, that the district place a covenant on title, a no build covenant, following the proposed renovations of the 3 dwellings at that time, and it would stay on the file as a direction to staff until the buildings were completed.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, just a question through to staff then. So if there's a no covenant on title, the building is torn down, the one that has the variance on it is, and they want to rebuild, that variance is still in place. So is the variance on the property or on the building?
I guess I'll take that one too. Sorry to Ariane for jumping into your presentation, but the zoning will stay with the land. So if council adopts the zoning tonight, then there will be the allowance of 3 dwelling units on the land, this is not the same as a development variance permit that council is considering tonight.
So the setback.
Did you get the answer to your question,
So
Councillor Holmes?
The setback would be 1.15 meters as proposed within the site-specific amendment.
Regardless of what happens in the future, that setback would still be there.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Carlson.
I'm wondering, other than a no-build covenant, what ways do we have of enforcing the rules? Whether we see we know that there's an illegal suite, or some building starts to go up without permits, or is built without permits and nobody does anything about it. I just, there must be other ways that we do or do not enforce our regulations.
Yeah, through the mayor, to answer that one, the district follows a complaint-based approach to enforcement. Generally, secondary suites are a good example. They are difficult to catch. We do try to do active patrols through a lot of our areas as well to catch bylaw enforcement infractions, but unless there was very clear active activity with, say, like a fourth dwelling, it would be perhaps difficult for us to see any new activity from an enforcement level. So that could be an area of concern moving forward.
So does a no build covenant solve that? Or are they still, what would the penalty be if they're caught and there's a covenant on there? Is there a penalty?
A covenant would potentially be caught during a sale. That's generally when the covenants are sailed. They as well are hard to enforce. They're actually more difficult to enforce than our bylaws, because our bylaws, we have tickets and we can do a lot more different things for enforcing our bylaws. But covenants generally come to play when there's been a land transfer and the lawyers of each party review what's on title.
Thank you. That helps.
Other questions? I have a couple. This is in reference to what the question that Councillor Patton was asking about secondary suites, and I guess that's how the whole discussion about the covenant came about. I'm wondering, I'm just going to go take us all back to December, I think it was, when this first came forward for first and second reading. And I believe it was Councillor Patton that asked the question if there was an interior, like more than an on-site interior, if actually staff went inside the cottage and the garage. And I believe the response was no. And due to COVID, has that changed at all? Has the building development services been inside the building? Either of the buildings?
No.
Okay, so then thank you, Ariane. So my question is, has there been any verification that there is not already an existing secondary suite in, well, probably not the garage, because it's the garage down below, but within the cottage?
Maybe I'll jump into that one again. Similar to my answer the previous time this was asked at the first reading consideration, we will have the opportunity to inspect the property. So through the building permit process. So if there was an existing suite within one of the buildings, the owner, the fact that they're agreeing to a no secondary suite requirement as part of the rezoning. And they do plan on renovating the buildings. So I doubt that they would want to create a non-conforming situation for themselves immediately through this rezoning application. So just because that means that we couldn't issue the building permit, for example. Yeah, I think we can assume that, and it's an assumption, of course, that there is no secondary suite within the 3 dwellings.
Okay, thank you. That's good. And my other question was related to the statement that the electrical and the water has been paid throughout this time. Does that include the we have a base fee for homes, residences, primary residences, for electricity and water. Does that mean that there were 3 base fees paid as well?
I'm not too sure on that. I'm hoping Ariana can help me with that question. And it was a comment made by Ms. Shedden, so it probably would have been directed better at the public hearing stage to ask her that question.
Pardon, Madam Mayor, can you please repeat the question?
A statement was made that the electric and utility, water utilities had been paid from the time of non-conformance, which I can certainly see if there were people living in there. My question is, does that include the base fees that are applicable to individual residences?
Based on comments from our internal referral process, that was one of the notes, that they haven't been charged those fees. And through this process, they would be. So
they would be going forward. Yes. Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, any other questions? Okay, I don't see any hands. So could I ask for someone to bring forward a recommendation? And if you wish to include the covenant, the no build covenant, then please be sure to include that in your recommendation for the motion. Anyone? Councillor Patton?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would, if I may, zoning bylaw amendment 19223 Lakeshore Drive North, bylaw number 2020-029, to allow site-specific provisions at property located at 19223 Lakeshore Drive North, legally described as Lot B District, Lot 673 and 1348, the Soyuz District Plan KAP 75272 be read. No, I'm sorry. That prior to occupancy, a no build covenant be registered against the property. That a no build covenant be registered against the property prior to occupancy.
So so what's written, and that a no build covenant?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So do we have a seconder for that resolution, please?
Nope.
Karen Needham, a question of process. Am I able to second a motion?
Madam Mayor, you may second a motion, yes.
Okay, I'd like to second a motion so we can have further discussion on this and get this on the floor. Okay, so it's on the floor for further discussion. No further discussion. All right. All those in favor?
Oh, wait.
Oh, sorry.
I was busy trying to find a hand that was in front of the camera.
Oh yes, with that
Yeah.
virtual background, it's very hard to see your hand sometimes.
Well, and I forget.
You go in and out.
and the lens-
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyhow,
So please go ahead, Councillor
Yeah,
Barkle.
to the discussion on the motion, not so much a question, but as part of the discussion. I've read all the correspondence, and a few people have spoken to me about it. And there is people are offended by the prolonged out of conformity of the existing buildings. And they're concerned that no special breaks or allowances or such are being given with this proposal. And I guess I would have to say that in answer to that, although it is out of the usual, I see it as a real step forward and about the best option we have for bringing things into conformity. So I'll be supporting the motion, whether this one passes or an alternative. This covenant is a separate issue in a way.
Please go ahead, Karen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just, staff's recommendation is the third reading and adopted. The amendment that was introduced by Councillor Patton is that prior to occupancy, a no build covenant be registered against the property. I would recommend voting on the amendment before the final motion, because you potentially could, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So let's do that then, please. We will vote. Let's have a discussion if there's any discussion on the amendment that has been put forward by Councillor Patton. Beginning with Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Truth of the matter is, if the Agers didn't want to do renovations, that property would still be into non-conformance. There would still be 3 houses there. The only reason that they've come forward is because they want to do renovations and they want to expand the footprint on some of those on those buildings. The way we've dealt with this over the last couple of years, we've dealt with this many times where we've been looking at second houses on properties. We've been looking at all this construction, this illegal construction. Do I think that they should go in and tear the buildings down? No, I don't. No, I don't. They've been there. They're living in them. But all I'm saying is that once we open this door, which we have opened already, it's a very hard door to close. And we're going to do it for the Agers, and then we're going to do it for somebody else that's in non-conformance that now wants to do a renovation, expand their footprint, then say, oh, well, I'll go to the district and I'll be able to do it through a variance, which is absolutely correct on how due process works. All I'm saying is we have the opportunity to send a slight message to our community that it's not acceptable to build without permit. It's not acceptable to do it and then ask for forgiveness, because it puts us all in a bad light. And I just feel that at some point we have to, if it's not this property, it is going to be a property. And then, but as Councillor Barkwell eloquently stated, we have had, there was some very good correspondence in here asking us why was it allowed? Why wasn't any enforcement done prior to this? And the reason is because a blind eye was taken, and it's only because of an increase in footprint that they have come forward. And so hence why I think that my recommendation of no build covenant on the property, they can still do what they need to do, but it just protects us going into the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Patton. Councillor Trainer and then Councillor Carlson, I believe you had your hands up.
I'm okay now. Doug
Okay.
clarified what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Councillor Carlson.
Well, thank you, Councillor Patton. I think I may be convinced. It's interesting to hear that after listening to what Brad said, because I mean, you can put it there, but there's still that enforcement tool that doesn't, it's there, right? We can put it there and it exists there, but we can't really, there's not really anything you can do about it except trust that the property owner is going to have the respect for that covenant and follow what has been requested of them. So I will support this in hopes that they'll get to do what they need to do, and then the community will also understand that we aren't just going to allow people to build 3 houses on one single property.
Anyone else? Oh, Councillor Barkwell.
Yes, could staff or explain to me perhaps again how this a no build covenant prior to occupancy works? Like they want to do some renovations. They'll need building permits for that. It's already occupied. How is this going to work? Yeah, could you explain it?
Through the mayor, just to elaborate, the no build covenant could be registered at the time of when we've given final occupancy to so the building permits that are expected to come forward. And now the interesting part of this is the timing of this. It may take years until the Agers are prepared to move forward with building permits for all three dwelling units. The direction of this council would live within the minutes of your decision, and we would we definitely, from a planning perspective, we review that when we're for any new building permit that comes in, and to ensure that we're following the direction of council. It would only be required to be placed following I would say the final dwelling renovation that's proposed of the 3 dwellings, based on the conceptual footprint that Ms. Shedden has provided to us for expansion for all 3 dwellings. That would allow them to apply for building permits right now, if they so choose, for all 3 dwelling units, or I guess wait until they're ready for all 3, but not be placed immediately until they complete those renovations. So it just basically restricts them from any further development on the site following renovations or expansions of their 3 existing dwellings.
Thank you. Karen?
My apologies. Madam Mayor, I was just wondering if I can display the site-specific bylaw that's under consideration right now.
Okay.
And just wanting to ensure that perhaps because this is a site-specific bylaw amendment, does this actually meet what council is trying to do, or the intention of council?
Nothing there.
Okay.
But we can go back to the public hearing. It's there.
Oh, you can't, sorry,
Yeah.
you're not seeing the
We
screen?
can't see, no, we can't see your shared screen.
Oh, I apologize. Sorry. Let me back down here. Is that there now?
No.
Oh,
Would it be
goodness.
better? Would it be easier if Ariane put up the? Oh no, she
Sure.
doesn't have it, or does she? Yeah, she has it in her
Okay.
PowerPoint. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, Ariane.
It's
Cut
okay.
you off
I don't
guard.
have the actual bylaw itself. Was that something
Yes.
that you were wanting to point out, Karen? I've got all of the main points, but
Yeah, let me just try again here. Sorry.
There we go.
Okay.
It says yes. There we go.
So under and certainly I'm just looking at this not from a planning perspective, but item E, it's saying that where the lot has 3 principal single detached housing dwellings, carriage houses and or secondary suites will not be permitted. I'm just wondering if that meets the intention or not.
Councillor Patton, I think that is for you to answer if it
Thank you,
meets.
Madam Mayor.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. Actually, a structure in the BC Building Code is anything over 100 square feet. So truth of the matter, it doesn't have to be a secondary suite. It doesn't have to be a carriage house. It could be a outbuilding that's larger than 100 square feet that would be erected, that could be erected on or constructed onto that property. So I don't think I guess what I'm trying to relay is it doesn't have to be related to habitable housing, habitable housing component. It could be any further site development on that property. And I know that they had the option that they said, well, they could have a 14,000 square foot house. A 14,000 square foot house, give or take, we would see massive construction fees and huge assessments on that property. So we would see a lot more money than what we would be seeing based on these 3 properties, but here and there. But yeah, so it's anything over 100 square feet requires a permit. And as our Director of Development Services said, that if nobody complains, then they could be constructed, and we would not know any different if it was there or not. So truth of the matter is the no build covenant will just protect us, that if there is illegal construction that happens, there is a complaint, it will give us the ability to go back and say, on your title, it says there's a no build covenant, you cannot do this, which would give us even a better legal entity to have that illegal construction removed. But anyways, that's right, Madam Mayor, I rambled on. But yes, it has to do with the permits, not just secondary suites or carriage houses or habitable dwellings. Thank you.
So if I understand you, Councillor Patton, you're saying that you would still like to proceed with the additional text amendment with the no build covenant?
I would if my colleagues would like to
Yes.
support me. Thank you.
Okay. So we still have that first and seconded. We're talking about the amendment. Councillor Van Elfen and Councillor Barkwell. And then Councillor Holmes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If somebody could clarify for me then, so the restricted covenant would remain on title until such time as, let's say that the property went for sale. Is that correct? It would be on that property for entirety? Possibly through to Brad?
Yep. Through the mayor, it would remain in perpetuity until the district agreed to remove it. So it would be a covenant that we would register on title, and we would be party to that covenant. And so the only way to remove it is through council resolution.
If I may, Madam Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
So there's no hardship to the landowner. You know, they're allowed to go ahead with their permits, or allowed to go ahead with their renovations as proposed. It's just that there's a title on land that they can't build anything over 100 square feet or 100, whatever the Councillor Patton was just saying, without coming for permits. Thank you.
Is that accurate, Brad? Like my understanding of the no build covenant, and I really don't understand it all that well. I'm not a planner. Thank you to Councillor Patton for bringing me up to date a little bit on my understanding of that. But does that mean that they simply just come for another building permit if they want to build another building, or does it mean that you have your 3 buildings and that's it? What does it mean?
Well, we wouldn't be able to make a decision at the staff level on allowing another building permit following the 3, let's say, that do get issued for the 3 dwellings. It would have to come to council as a request from the landowner to remove the covenant as a request before we could issue a building permit. Right. Now, I do want to I throw, I know maybe I'm a bit out of order here, but as another option for council is to consider an amendment to the site-specific rezoning as well, instead of a covenant. I know it's on the floor right now, but in terms of adding another condition to the site-specific amendment to restrict development to only three dwellings, period, would be the other option for council.
But 3 dwellings is different than 3 buildings, though, right?
It would still allow the redevelopment of those 3 buildings. So new building permits could get issued. Say 50 years from now, it needs to get demolished and rebuilt. The no build covenant could restrict that and create an issue 50 years from now. But the rezoning and just allowing no future development would still permit the issuing of a building permit for those 3 dwellings only.
Just again for clarification, if say 50 years from now they wanted to demolish the building and rebuild the 3 say 2 of the 3 buildings or whatever, they could still do that. They would just have to get permission from council rather than just from the development services. Isn't that correct?
They'd have to get council to approve the no build covenant, which could be
to remove it.
To remove it, yeah.
Yes. Yep. Okay. I personally don't see a problem with that, but I had Councillor Van Elfen, you are finished asking your questions. Good. Councillor Barkwell and then Councillor Holmes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So what exactly in the way of building is on the table right now? I'm looking at the site plan that's at the public hearing, and it has a shaded area where potential future expansion is there, but that's for, my understanding, is for conceptual purposes. And when this is all brought up for building permits for what type of work?
Just if I could interject, Councillor Barkwell. Right now the amendment is on the floor, so if you could hold that part of the discussion until we get a vote on whether or not this amendment is going to be accepted.
But I'd like to have a better understanding of what the construction is, and then which would then trigger the application of the amendment, because to me it's related. I just
okay, if that's okay. Thank you. Brad, Ariane.
So the owners haven't provided building plans for what they're doing because they wanted to get the zoning in place before even thinking about developing any concepts or any future plans for the property. It was important that they had the lot coverage, the FAR, all of these different things in place before moving forward with plans.
So does that mean that if we approve this site-specific zoning and the no build covenant, they will immediately have to come back to us because that covenant's there if they want to do any building?
Oh. Go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, through the mayor. So what I believe Councillor Patton is proposing is the covenant only be placed following the building permits completion for the 3 dwellings. So it would not be placed immediately. It would be a resolution provided by council as part of this decision, but we would just have it in your minutes and only place it when the 3 renovations of the 3 dwellings are completed.
However, those renovations could contain the things that maybe some members of council don't want to see happen, which are the purpose of the no build covenant. So it doesn't seem to work for me. And I kind of think the only issue that seems to have come up is that, the neighbors sort of saying, well, you're really not sure if we would like to, we don't want to see the building extended 15 feet to the east or something like that. So perhaps we're trying to deal with something, squash a bug with a sledgehammer or doesn't seem to be the solution. I don't know if there is one.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Barkwell. So on to Councillor Holmes and then Councillor Trainer.
Yeah, my question is similar, the only through to Councillor Patton. I would like to ask is what concern, I guess, are you trying to address with the covenant? Is it setback? Is it the size of a redeveloped buildings or the number of build? I mean, I'd like to get an idea of what your concern that you're trying to address is. Absolutely.
Thank you. If I may, Madam Mayor. They've put forward to us and they've gave us some conceptual, the site plan in regards to footprints that they're looking at possibly expanding to. So, like I said, the structures are there already. You're not going to make them tear them down. They want to expand them. So I'm saying, okay, whatever they've proposed to district staff for expansion is fine. Let move forward with their building permits based on what they want to do. But then once we issue the permit on the last one, where it means that they have done everything on those 3 properties that they wanted to renovate, then that's when the no build happens, and then no further expansion, no further construction goes forward. And if it does, it just gives us a little bit, it gives us legally a little bit more to stand on. Whether we use enforcement, which we would only do through complaint basis. So I'm saying I don't want to hinder them in how they move forward, but what I want to do is I want to protect to make sure that once they're finished, that we don't see more structures, more going on to that property that without permit or without moving forward with the proper documentation.
So to follow up, if I may, so then yes. It's not to address the concern about the redevelopment or the renovations that might occur, which would be the neighbors' concerns. It's not to address that at all.
No, well, the neighbors' concerns are there, and the one they're already encroaching into the side yard setback, so that's a given, Councillor Holmes. They can't move the house, so that's why the variance has to be there for that setback. The setback is 1.5, we're down to 1.15, and that's because the foundation is already there. As far as the 15 meters, I believe it was, to the eastern shoreline, my understanding is that they've already, the Campies and the Agers have agreed that, okay, we won't protrude. I think the only thing in which is the 2-story onto the cottage, and realistically, That will be between the Campies and the Agers and our development services department based on building height and building permit and the bylaw and the zoning bylaw that's required for that property. So I'm not looking at stopping what they want to do. I'm only suggesting that we put safeguards in place after they finish what they want to do.
Okay, Councillor Holmes? Councillor Holmes, okay? All right, Councillor Trainer.
I'm good again. Councillor Patton answered my questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions about the amendment? So that's with the no build covenant. Or any further discussion? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? Councillor Barkwell, you're opposed, and Councillor Holmes is opposed. Okay, so the amendment carries. Councillor Holmes, did you have something to say in addition, or was that just your hand left up from the vote? No? Okay. Now on to the vote, or sorry, the motion as amended. So as we see being read a third time and adopted, and then with the no build covenant. Any further discussion on this? Councillor Barkwell.
Yeah, it just sort of sits with me a little bit funny that we can give third reading to a bylaw that is not the same bylaw that went through the public hearing process. You know, it doesn't sit with me right, but our corporate officer maybe can assure me that there's no issues with that procedure.
Sorry, Karen, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So through you, the bylaw itself has not changed, which is why we're reading the bylaw after the amendment, because the amendment is actually, the amendment to the resolution is adding another tool. So the bylaw itself is remaining the same. So the public hearing remains on the bylaw. It remains on the site-specific amendment that was the subject of the public hearing. So that's completely fine to then add a further regulation from council's wish.
Thank you. A good question. Councillor Barkwell, do you have another question?
Oh, I was just going to say that I see the point that it's the zoning portion of this motion that needs the public hearing, and the resolution being different doesn't require the public hearing, I guess.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? I just have one thing that I'd like to say, and it goes along with what Councillor Patton was saying when he was talking about bringing up the no build clause. And I'm going to try and paraphrase what he said, but he certainly was indicating, in my mind, was indicating that this application, although it says the purpose is to bring their property into conformance with the district, it's really only because they want to do some renovations, and they're doing them on buildings that are illegal, and that is the real reason for this application, as far as I'm concerned. But having said that, that's all I need to say on that. Okay. Anybody else have anything to say before I call the question? And I'll just wait for Councillor Barkwell to get back. Oh, there he is.
Sorry, I'm here. I'm just trying to get this iPad in the right way.
Okay. Okay, so I will call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? I'm going to assume that Councillor Barkwell is not opposed. So that is carried. Okay. And now on to 5.2. Z 20-014 zoning bylaw 2000-450. Another text amendment for fruit stand. Ariane, do you have this one as well? Great, thank you.
Okay, so this is an application for a text amendment to the zoning bylaw to permit fruit stands. So currently, the Agricultural Land Commission, the ALC's Agricultural Land Reserve Use Regulations specifies specific farm uses that cannot be prohibited by a local government. And this includes the sale of farm products produced on that farm or by an association to which the owner of the agricultural land belongs. So despite local governments not being able to prohibit this use, the district zoning bylaw does not include farm retail sales as a permitted principal or accessory use within the A1 or A2 zone. Given that this is a direct contravention of the ALR use regulations, staff are proposing a text amendment to the zoning bylaw to better align with ALC regulations by adding fruit stand as an accessory use within the A1 and A2 zone. With respect to district policies and regulations, the official community plan encourages direct farm marketing operations as a secondary use to permitted farming operations that comply with the policies of the ALC. And this text amendment directly addresses this policy. It should also be noted that the zoning bylaw already has a definition for agricultural retail sales. However, it wasn't tied to a specific zone, so staff are under the impression that this was an oversight. So through this amendment, we're proposing to rectify this error to legitimize this use and better comply with ALC regulations. So as such, staff are recommending that zoning bylaw amendment to allow a fruit stand within the A1 and A2 zones be given third reading. Thank you.
Thank you, Ariane. Any questions? Could I have someone bring forward? Oh, Councillor, sorry, Ms. Needham.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to remind Council that this particular bylaw was given first reading and the public hearing was waived. So the advertising has been undertaken. So all the ads have been placed, notification in the Summerland review. And so Council may now proceed with further reading of the bylaw. And from my understanding, there was no correspondence received on this particular amendment.
Okay. Thank you, Karen, for that reminder. Councillor Van Elfen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to put the resolution up, a recommendation on the floor.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Patton. Further discussion? Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, I was just wondering, this question of process, we're not able to adopt it tonight as well? Or does have to...
Yeah, so as a text amendment to the zoning bylaw, it requires approval from the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure before it can be adopted.
Thanks.
Okay. Okay, if there's no further discussion, all in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Okay, item 6, the mayor's report. Happy New Year, and I hope everyone had a relaxing and healthy holiday season. I know that for a lot of us, it was quite a bit quieter than we anticipated. Our last meeting of 2020 was held on December the 14th, and with the holidays, I don't have a whole lot to report. On December the 15th, I was part of a recorded panel discussion called Valuing Diversity in Leadership. The session is part of the Local Government Leadership Academy's annual forum and will be presented virtually in February. The presentation will also include a Q&A live segment. Other participants were Duncan Michelle Staples, former UBCM president and mayor of Souk, Maya Tate, Coquitlam Mayor Duncan Stewart, and Kamloops Councillor Arjun Singh. Despite the pandemic, the District of Summerland was able to get a considerable amount of work done this year. Last year, I guess. Visit summerland.ca to see a summary in my year-end column published online, which will be up tomorrow. Sorry, Karen, I forgot to get you the latest update of that. And it was also published in the January, or it will be in the January 7th Summerland Review. 2021 is a census year. The Government of Canada is committed to hiring locally to ensure community safety during COVID, and applications are now being accepted. I have been asked to invite people that might be interested in a part-time job to visit census.gc.ca/jobs for more information and or to submit an application. I am very pleased to introduce Mr. Graham Statt, the district's new Chief Administrative Officer. Graham comes to us from Alberta, where he has been involved in public administration in provincial roles for many years. Provincial government roles for many years. As head of staff and council's only employee, Graham's position bears considerable responsibility. So Graham, new year, new job, new community, new house, new staff, new people to meet. And in his words, it's like drinking from a fire hose. But on behalf of council, district staff, and residents, we welcome you very warmly to Summerland, and we are very excited to have you in our midst. While there are always predictions and resolutions at the beginning of a new year, and sometimes, as the whole world experienced in 2020, we are tested in extraordinary ways. Over the last 5 years, Summerland residents have faced fire, flood, and pestilence, but we have adapted, and Council will continue to support projects and initiatives that build resilience so we are better prepared for the challenges that will inevitably lie ahead. May we continue to be caring for one another through 2021. Thank you. CAO, your first report at a regular council meeting.
Well, thank you, Your Worship. I've been on the job now as the new CAO, as you know, for about a week, and I'm very excited to obviously be in the community and working with council and meeting staff. I have to say, everybody has been very welcoming, so thank you. I do have a couple of staff updates that I wanted to bring to council tonight. The first is Dallas Clowes joined the district as the Corporate Services Coordinator today. Dallas has spent the last 9 years at the City of West Kelowna in a senior planner capacity and 3 years at the City of Nelson prior to that. Dallas has recently completed her local government administration certificate through Capilano University and has a strong interest in moving into the corporate services field. She also has a master's in urban and regional planning, master's in arts in international development studies, and a bachelor of arts. Dallas will certainly be a great asset to the organization. We're excited about Dallas. And secondly, Dan Maya will join the district as our bylaw enforcement officer 2/business license inspector on the 1st of February of this year. Dan is currently a senior bylaw officer with the City of Kelowna and just over 20 years of experience in bylaw and business licensing services. He's been with the City of Kelowna since 2013 and was with the Central Okanagan Regional District before joining the City of Kelowna. Dan holds a wealth of knowledge and also currently instructs the Bylaw 1 and 2 programs at the Justice Institute and Focus College. He'll bring a wealth of knowledge also to the district in this field, and we look forward to him starting and learning from his expertise. Finally, I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge and celebrate the recent award received in partnership with the Hunters Hill Development for Excellence in Private-Public Partnership from the Okanagan chapter of the Canadian Home Builders Association. The Canadian Home Builders Association is the voice of Canada's residential construction industry since 1943, and the Silver Okanagan Housing Award of Excellence recognizes the public-private partnership between the District of Summerland and the developer. The award recognizes leadership in fostering cooperation between private and public sectors in addressing housing issues, which of course is all very important and near and dear to the council priorities. And with that, I'll conclude my report. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Graham. Karen, do we have any, first council, any questions about the CAO's report? Nope. Karen, do we have anybody on the line or that wishes to comment? No. Okay, thank you. So on to the 9.1 year-end 2020 Development Services Report. And this is Brad, you're going to yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you. I'm just going to share my screen. I have a short PowerPoint. Just hold on one second. Okay, can everyone see my slides?
Yep, good.
Great. So this is a report for the year end of the development services activities for my department area for the District of Summerland. So for planning and development applications, we had a large number of development applications again for 2020. As you can see, the majority of these were for development variance permits, comparison to other types of permits. This was the second most actually amount of development variance permits that we received on record. As the only one that was higher was in 2017. We had a total of 85 planning applications in total for the year. Comparing to 2019, we did have a bit of a reduction in subdivisions from 11. That was in 2019. It was 18. But in general, our planning staff have been fairly active with the number of applications that have been coming in. And in terms of long-term trends, we've had, you can see an uptick in the number of development variance permits in recent years, and starting in 2016. And I know CEO Haddad has recently presented on this as well, previous CEO Haddad, sorry, on this topic. And that was part of the justification for going through our administrative and land use revisions to the zoning bylaw, which were recently adopted by council at their December 14th, 2020 meeting. So I just wanted to highlight that we have now consolidated a new zoning bylaw for the public's benefit that's on our website right now. And we're hoping that this will help stem some of the variance permits coming forward to council in the future. For building permit activity, we've had another close to record year of construction value being issued through building permit. We had a total of $35 million, 35,734 to be exact, issued by the District of Summerland, and that was a decline of 22% from the year prior in 2019. But to keep in mind, 2019 was a record year for the District of Summerland in terms of building activity, as you can see by the orange line on this graph, and the value that we recorded in 2020 this past year was still the fourth highest amount that the district has received over the last 20 years. So showing that there's still a significant amount of growth occurring within 2020, despite the COVID-19 pandemic that it's occurred. As well, and related to that, we've also issued 200 building permits this year, which again was down from 2019, but it was also the second most amount of building permits that we've ever issued in one year. So still a lot of workload that we're processing for the building permit staff. For the bylaw enforcement side of Development Services Department, we issued a total of or processed a total of 1,681 bylaw enforcement files in 2020, and this compares to the total of 1,348 files that were processed in 2019. And a large part of this can be explained by the COVID-19 complaints and inspections that were a new thing in 2020 that occurred, which previously we didn't have to deal with in 2019, of course. As well, in the fall of this year, we took a more proactive approach to following up on expired business licenses and updating our business licensing renewal list prior to issuing a new renewal out for 2021. So there was a number of active files generated internally to follow up on expired business licenses that have not come in for renewal. And then I do want to mention briefly as well, building permit fee revenue. We had a total of $399,000 brought in 2020 as an actual. This was a 10.9% decrease from 2019, but again, 2019 was a record year. Still, building permit revenue has been fairly high in recent years. And in fact, over the last 4 years, the building permit revenue has been over $312,000 in general. And for that reason, the district staff have recommended as part of the 2021 budget consideration process that we consider increasing the budget amount that we budget for building permit fee revenue from $248,000 in 2020 to $325,000 in 2021. So in general, just to conclude, despite the COVID-19 pandemic, the District of Summerland is still seeing a significant amount of growth in the real estate and development sector, which is a positive sign for a lot of our businesses within the community. And staff's perception is that this trend will continue moving into 2021 with the trends in real estate happening to create the environment for the Okanagan to be even more attractive, perhaps for people that are able to remote work and to seek a high amenity lifestyle that the District of Summerland can provide. So with that, I can take any questions.
Any questions for Brad? Well, I think it's a pretty substantial report, given that we've been through COVID for the last 10 months. Yeah, well done. It's a lot of work, and having not had a director of development services for a good part of that, a little bit more than half of that. Yeah, I think you've probably been a busy man in the last couple of months. So thank you for that. Okay, if there aren't any questions, then we will go on to notice of motion. I believe that Councillor Holmes has a notice of motion, and perhaps Councillor Barkwell.
Well, this wasn't going to be a notice of motion. I was going to pull this out of the correspondence, but whatever works.
Oh, I thought that you wanted to bring forward a motion.
I did, but from the correspondence.
Okay, so we'll just wait until then, or yeah.
Yeah, I thought, isn't that what's next on the agenda anyway?
Well, yes, unless someone else has a notice of motion. Councillor Van Elfen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A question through our corporate officer. When's the appropriate time to bring this forward that you and I discussed this morning?
Yeah, so this would be the time, Councillor Van Elfen. And the discussion about the notice of motion was, we did review the procedures bylaw, and there's 2 options for a notice of motion. You can advise council that you are bringing one to the next meeting, or you can choose to put an actual motion on the floor for council consideration. And I believe Councillor Van Elfen is choosing the latter.
Thank you to our corporate officer. And that's correct. I'd like to put a motion on the floor for discussion this evening. It's a very time-sensitive motion. I don't want our staff to be doing extra work and incurring costs. So the motion would read that council waive the District of Summerland 2021 business license fees to reduce the impact of the COVID pandemic on our business community. That would be the motion. And I think we all know the reason why. Our business community has definitely, suffered through the past 10 months, and they've incurred numerous amounts of additional costs. Our restaurants, are running at 40-50% capacity in their seating. The PPE costs, every business you go into, they've got, the plexiglass barriers that they've had to pay for, the extra cleaning and disinfecting. Lots of businesses are suffering today because of the CERB program. A lot of their employees are off on CERB, and it's difficult to get them back to work. So that's why I brought this motion forward, and I was hoping that I could get some support. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Could we get a seconder, please, before we have further discussion? Councillor Patton? Okay. Councillor Van Alphen, you gave us a really good reasoning for why you were bringing that forward. Is there anything else that you would like to add at this point?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I texted our director of finance today, and generally we look at about $150,000 worth of business license fees. And this year in the budget, I think we were looking at $140,000. And so it's definitely going to be down this year. I'm sure there's some businesses that won't be renewing their business license, unfortunately. So that's about it. I'd like to hear from other councillors at this time. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Council? Okay, so a whole bunch of hands all at once. Councillor Patton, then Barkwell, then Holmes, and then Trainer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I commend Councillor Van Alphen for bringing this forward. I think that our business community does need a break, and be this a very small break, but I think it'll be well appreciated. And I think that they have had to endure, and they're still enduring, and we don't know how long they will keep on having to do the fight. So I will be in full support of this motion from Councillor Van Alphen. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Barkwell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I thank Councillor Van Alphen for bringing this forward. I'm reminded of our discussions when we went through revised budget discussions, and we were looking for measures that might target the people that need the benefit the most when we were trying to reduce expenses for the people in conjunction with reducing our own expenses. And I think that the removal of the business licenses goes a long step towards helping those that might need the help. Not every business, of course, is suffering, and so you'll never get a perfect match. But I think it's a very good, as good as we're going to be able to get. So thank you, Councillor Van Alphen.
Okay. Councillor Holmes.
Oh, I was unmuted already. So I do have some concerns regarding this. I think, as Councillor Barkwell just mentioned, some businesses are impacted more than others by COVID. Some certainly hospitality and retail are suffering, but as we've just heard from our report from our development services, construction is doing fine, and there is a lot of government support out there, both provincial and federal level for businesses. And my question is, what's the problem? Isn't going to be this year. The problem is going to be next year when the government support runs out, and the economic impact is actually felt. Then what are we going to do? So I appreciate where Councillor Van Alphen is trying to trying to help, I think I would support perhaps a reduction in fees. There's been no request from the chamber or anything in that respect. So I think I'd like to, they haven't expressed that kind of concern at any chamber meeting. I'm not sure what impact business fees can have if we could apply it just to those sectors that are hurting, that don't maybe benefit from some sort of government subsidies. I just think just completely eliminating business license fees for 1 year might not have the desired impact that we're trying to achieve, and it'll just we'll just have to make up the money somewhere else in our budget, and I'm not sure where that money's going to come from. I'd like to hear from our finance director, for example, where that money might come from and what impact it'll have on our budget, and so maybe we could discuss it on Wednesday.
Thank you, Councillor Holmes. Councillor Traynor.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Is we are having our budget discussion on Wednesday. So is this something that we could discuss then, and then that also gives us a little bit of time to just think about it. I think it is a good idea off the top, but I just need to think about it a little bit more and consider some of the points that Councillor Holmes brought up. And so if we could talk about it on Wednesday with our finance director there, that might be helpful, just so that we all have a good picture before we vote.
Okay, I just wanted to add one point to the discussion, and that is that, yes, it's not very much, but even though it's not very much, we should also remember that, I hate that word should, I would like to remind people that your business license is a tax write-off. It's not like you really have to pay it. You have a delay until the following year, of course, but then it's a business write-off. So I don't know. I with both Councillor Holmes and Traynor, well, first of all, I think it's worthy of consideration, further consideration, but perhaps a reduction, or perhaps hearing from the impact on our budget, because that affects all the ratepayers in Summerland, may be worthwhile to just hold off for a couple of days before we make a decision. Anyways, that's my thoughts on this. Councillor Carlson, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
Just that it is I think a big decision to make without having given it any form or thought. Questions like, can we use some of the provincial funding that we've received to fill that gap? We need to ask our finance director that question before we make a decision like this, I think.
Okay. Back to you, Karen. Do we, how do we do this? Do we need to vote because the motion is on the floor? Yeah, we do. Okay, so I'll call the question there unless there's more discussion. Okay, Councillor Barkwell and Councillor Holmes and Councillor Traynor.
Couldn't we also table the motion until our committee of the whole meeting, where we will be getting more information concerning the budget? I mean, I support the motion, but those are valid questions which, are probably rightly should be answered.
Well, right. I think that's what Karen was saying. We need to vote on the motion that's on the floor, but then we could do another motion to table it.
Wouldn't we vote to table the motion? Not if we vote on it, it could be defeated now, and then somebody who voted for it would have to bring it up, I guess, again.
Okay, well, the motion is on the floor, so I'm going to go to Karen to get the guidance.
Yeah. And Madam Mayor, the motion's on the floor. The council votes on the motion. could amend the motion, could table the motion. So there's several things that can be done, but it is on the floor and needs to be acted upon.
Councillor Holmes and then Councillor Trainer.
So can we defer it? Can we table it? So, yeah, well
It could
then
be tabled, Madam Mayor, yeah.
I would propose that we do that.
Councillor Trainer? Yes, you're in agreement. Okay, so Councillor Van Alphen, you brought, I'm a little confused, I have to admit here, Karen. We have a motion on the floor. Do we need to vote on the motion that's on the floor, or can we change it, alter it, amend it to table the motion before we vote?
Someone can move to table the motion.
Okay, so Councillor Holmes has done that.
Right.
Councillor Van Alphen.
So we're tabling this motion till Wednesday at budget discussion. Is that correct, Councillor Holmes? I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we are now voting on tabling this amendment until Wednesday when we have our budget discussion. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Van Alphen, for bringing this forward. Okay, any other notices of motion? Councillor Holmes.
Yes, and this is different than the motion I'll bring forward in correspondence. But I just want to give a notice of motion that staff report back on the feasibility of keeping the Lakeshore Path open year-round between Lakeshore Drive and Trout Creek.
And is this something that you want to talk about tonight, or is it just a notice that we will talk about it in 2 weeks?
It doesn't matter, either one.
Councillor Carlson?
I think it's worth finding out more, so I would appreciate if staff, I know that this was an email, so I know someone's probably looked into it. So there's probably someone with some information that the district that we do not have.
Yes, I agree. Councillor Trainer?
Yeah, I'll second, I don't know if Councillor Carlson just did that or not, but I'll second Councillor Holmes' motion. I think we've had explanations before about why it's been closed over the winter. And so I think to hear back again would be good. And then maybe we can decide if there's ways that from that information, maybe we can make some changes that would allow it to stay open. So that information would be helpful hearing it again. So if we could hear back maybe at the next meeting or whenever, that would be helpful. So I'm seconding.
Okay, Councillor Holmes?
Yeah, the motion is to hear back from staff. It's not to keep it open. So that's what I would like as well. It's something that comes that people ask me every year. And as we know, we've got our email recently about it again. And every year, I don't feel I'm able to give people a satisfactory response. So I would like us to hear from staff. Thank you.
Could I ask you to read the motion, the notice of motion again, please, Karen?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I may need some help from Councillor Holmes, but what I captured was that staff investigate the feasibility of keeping the Lakeshore Drive pathway open year-round.
Yeah, I think we should put between Lakeshore Drive and between Lakeshore Drive and Trout Creek, because the whole path most of the paths along the lake are open. It's just that stretch.
Okay. Again, that was between
What,
Lakeshore,
south end of Lakeshore?
Lakeshore Drive South and Trout Creek.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Thank you, Councillor Holmes. Any other notices of motion? Okay, we'll go on to correspondence then. Councillor Holmes.
Thank you. I'd like to pull the letter from the Okanagan Basin Water Board regarding the Okanagan Lake regulation system. As noted in the letter, the regulation system for the lake has been in place since 1974. At the October OBWB meeting, Sean Reimer, the dam operator, presented to the board, and he talked about how his limited ability to manage the water levels and how it's becoming more and more difficult. He explained how he's not able to be reactive. He can only be proactive, which I found kind of interesting because usually in public sectors the other way around. But so basically what he meant there is he can judge by what the snowpack is and draw the lake down to a certain level, but there's no ability to react to any kind of sudden changes to the weather or what's happening to the lake. And he noted that in every year we're in a situation now because of climate change or whatever, that every year is different. In the last 15 years, we've had the two highest flows into the lake and also the two lowest. So modeling and forecasting has been overtaken by all kinds of variables. It's not just the snowpack anymore. And if anything, we're expecting more drought years and more flood years. He also talked about how traditionally, when they've been operating the dams, traditionally they've managed for kokanee and Chinook, but now 1,500 sockeye are also coming through the channel, and water levels for the fish vary as well. So with that, I think I would like to introduce a motion that we support the Okanagan Basin Water Board and write a letter to the government of BC to request a review and update of the Okanagan Lake regulation system, including undertaking and/or funding the necessary studies identified by the OBWB gap analysis. And that's basically, they just want to, it's time to review it. It's been in place since 1974.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Van Elfen? And further discussion? Councillor Barkwell.
Yes, I was wondering if maybe Councillor Holmes can tell us how this is tied into discussions about the Columbia Basin Treaty, which I see in the news now and then that they're negotiating. And I thought that kind of controlled the water levels. I know the boat people who are most concerned are Suyas, who have the bad flooding on bad years. And I certainly recognize that we have a concern with climate change here. Variability is one of the biggest things that we're going to experience. So yeah, how does that tie in? Do you know?
I don't know, but maybe the mayor knows. I don't know how it ties in with the Columbia Basin.
It doesn't.
Thing. I don't
no,
think so.
They're two different bodies of water completely.
One thing Mr. Reimer did say which I thought was kind of interesting, that in the future, it's kind of a push and pull thing, because what the North Okanagan wants, this, it might not be what the South Okanagan wants, and so the North Okanagan is maybe more concerned with flooding, whereas here in the South Okanagan, we want to make sure we have enough water for irrigation. So there's going to be that kind of push and pull, and those are some sort of questions for society that need to be discussed, because it's there's no right answer. It's what we're trying to achieve. So, but I think the main point is that they're very there, as detailed in the letter, there's not really any opportunity to address those kind of issues under the current system.
To add a further complication to this, the water just doesn't stop in Osoyoos, of course. It goes down into the United States, the Okanagan Valley in the United States. And so there is an agreement between the Canadian and the American partners in this. So it's not completely straightforward, that's for sure. But that's much like the Columbian Basin water treaty that they have been negotiating for some years now. Same kind of thing, you know. There's the Americans and the Canadians, and for the first time ever, the Indigenous partners are at the table, which is a huge improvement in my consideration or my estimation. So, Councillor Holmes, that has been seconded by Councillor Van Elfen, and is there any further discussion or further questions for Councillor Holmes? Okay, Councillor Van Elfen.
No, just a comment, Madam Mayor, like it is, you know, it is important that the person that's running the dam and allowing water to go through, ever since our neighbors to the south have, you know, reintroduced the Chinook and sockeye salmon into our water system here, water levels are going to be a very important part of the survival of that species of fish. So I think further discussions with the province at this point in time is really important. Thank you.
Yeah, and again, to make things a little more complicated, there are real sensitivities for the spawning beds of these fish, as you know, with the eggs being washed away when there's a huge release of water. So it's always a tricky balance between the human users and all other users of our water ecosystem. So thank you, Councillor Van Elfen. It's a good point. Okay, so are we prepared to vote on this now then, if there's no further discussion, to send a letter in support? Okay, all in favor? And any opposed? No. Okay, good.
Could I add one thing?
Yes, please.
Yeah, just like to note that in the request from OBWB, they asked that local jurisdictions to include any information specific to our own community, such as recovery costs from previous flooding, damage to public spaces, community values about the lakeshore, agricultural, fisheries, that sort of thing. So I think if our staff would have all that information at hand, but if we could, probably the more local information we're able to contain it, can put into that letter, the better. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Holmes. Is there anyone else that would like to bring forward any items of correspondence? Okay, so on behalf of the SILGA executive, I'd like to just draw your attention to the second piece of correspondence, and I apologize, it shows SIGLA, it should show SILGA. For Graham, that's the Southern Interior Local Government Association. And a call for nominations. So at every one of our AGMs, which again will be online this year, we look for nominations to the board. Those are, it's requested that those are in by February the 28th. The resolutions, and this is something that we as a council and staff, of course, can talk about those. The deadline for those is February the 26th, and then there is a consideration for late resolutions, but it's getting tighter and tighter every year. And then the third SILGA piece of correspondence is about the Community Excellence Awards. And it would be great if, we've done a lot of pretty interesting things in Summerland. I would really like to have a discussion about putting our information about one of our projects forward for a Community Excellence Award in one of the 3 categories that's listed in the letter. And the deadline for that is February the 1st, so that's coming up pretty quickly. Okay. If there isn't any more correspondence to be brought forward, could I ask someone to bring forward the recommendation to receive it for information? Thank you, Councillor Van Elfen and Councillor Trainer. All in favor? Okay, none opposed. And 13.2 is committee and commission minutes. There is just one set of minutes from November 25th Downtown Neighborhood Plan Task Force. Any errors or omissions in that? Let's see, who's, Councillor, no, I can't remember who the liaison is. Are you the alternate, Councillor Carlson? I can't remember who. Okay, whoever is on, whoever is our liaison or the alternate if you attended, could you please let us know if there is anything untoward in those minutes?
Councillor Holmes and myself are the liaisons, and Councillor Van Elfen is the alternate. I think it looks good from what I.
Thank you. Councillor Holmes, would you agree?
Well, I know I didn't nominate the chair as it states in the meeting, but I can't remember who did, but I don't think it really matters.
I think it was either Bruce or Carla that did.
Okay. Karen, does it matter?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We can amend the minutes.
Just to reflect, yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Okay, so other than that, could we receive those minutes as amended, please, for information? Councillor Trainer and Councillor Patton, all in favor? Great. And Councillor reports. I'm going to start at the bottom of my screen today, so that is with Councillor Barkwell.
No report this week, thank you.
Nothing to report. Councillor Van Elfen.
Not much to report, Madam Mayor. Just like to add that there's a new addition to the Van Elfen family. A little baby boy. My son Robert and his wife had a little baby boy, and his name is Pierce Martin Van Elfen. So I'm absolutely honored. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Councillor Carlson.
I have nothing to report. Just congratulations, Council, for staying home over the holidays. I hope it was worth it.
Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do not have anything to report. Thank you so much.
Councillor Trainer.
I attended the RDOS meeting last Thursday, and then my report from the December 17th meeting is available in our package, which we just approved, and it's pretty exciting reading. So if you haven't read it yet, take a look. Doug's is in there as well.
Yes.
Thanks.
No, it's good. It's great to get those updates.
Yeah, it helps us stay engaged during the meetings too, because you've got to take all these notes. So it's good.
Yes. Thank you, Councillor Holmes.
Yeah, thank you. All these grandfathers on council is starting to make me feel a little uncomfortable, but I'll have to deal with that, I guess. Yeah, so you got my RDOS report from last week, right? Yeah, okay, so I won't speak to that. And we did have another downtown neighborhood plan task force meeting subsequent to the minutes that we've just approved, and we've reviewed kind of all the existing documentation regarding downtown, the OCP and other plans, district plans. And the task force has started the process to determine the scope of the plan, which is determined we really need to do that before engaging a consultant or doing any public engagement. And so what they did in the last task force meeting is go around, every task force member in turn kind of presented on what they saw as their priorities. And besides densification and infill, there was a lot of talk about infrastructure, buildings being past their best before dates, the walkability of downtown and central gathering space, and of course parking. So all that is being considered in the scope of the plan, which I presume will come to council. That's all I have. Thank you.
Good, thank you, Councillor Holmes. I forgot to mention this in my mayor's report. I don't know if it's backwards to use, but we got Christmas cards over the holidays, didn't arrive until today, at least not on my desk until today. This is from RDOS. This is from MP Dan Elbis. This is from Premier Horgan. And these are all for Mayor and Council. And this is from the Honorable Janet Austin, who is our Lieutenant Governor. And we also got one from Dan Ashton that arrived before the holidays. And Councillor Carlson, yes, it was worthwhile staying home. Although my son, my son had to have a COVID test on the weekend, but he reported today that he is negative, so that's good. He stayed in just outside of Toronto where he lives, so no worries there. Okay. Anything else from council, or are we ready to adjourn? Okay, call for adjournment then. Councillor Patton, Councillor Carlson, all